Hello everyone. Hello. I am back again with another one of my ASMR geography videos. This time I'm doing another requested type of video. So this person wanted me to read basically some history facts for a video, and I thought that would be a really good idea because, in my channel description, if you were to go to my channel and look up the description, I do say that I have plans for making some type of history related ASMR content. And why not do something like this? Let's read up some history facts. Facts with a question mark though. So anyway, I have a list of quite a few of them. I'm gonna post the link in the description, although it's not gonna be a clickable link because I can't do clickable links yet. But yeah, you can still check it out if you want to in the description below. And let's get into it. So the first one is, during World War II, a Great Dane named Juliana, I think it would be pronounced, if it's Danish, it would be pronounced Juliana, was awarded the Blue Cross Medal. She extinguished an incendiary bomb by peeing on it. Basically, she golden showered the bomb. Goddamn interesting. This second one, I'm not sure about. It's yeah, I would disagree maybe. So Alexander the Great was accidentally buried alive. Scientists believe Alexander suffered from a neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome. They believe that when he died, he was actually just paralyzed and mentally aware. We don't really know though. We're never gonna know. It's just plain and simple as that. I think we just, without like going back in time, we're not gonna have a definitive answer. So I would just disagree with those types of things being on lists. But anyway, let's continue. There were female gladiators in ancient Rome, which is true, there were. Yeah, especially I think one emperor really liked that. A female gladiator was called a gladiatrix. Plural would be gladiatrices. Yeah. They were extremely rare, unlike their male counterparts. And also, female gladiatrixes also used to battle with male dwarves. So there was female versus dwarf battles. And actually, the records of who won aren't that well kept, so we don't really know who won, like who was the more common winner. Is it the female or the male dwarf? I have a theory because of that. It's just a theory, but I think it might have been the females that kept winning, and that's why there's not a lot of records being kept about it. Not a lot of were preserved maybe, or even written down. Because then she would have the height advantage, she would have the reach advantage. I think it was probably the gladiatrix that used to win more matches against male dwarfs. So that's why it may not be as well kept. But that's, a theory, a history theory. Just my own, I don't know. The world's most successful pirate in history was a lady named Qing Xin. Yeah, I know this as well. She was a prostitute in China until commander of the Red Flag Fleet bought and married her, but her husband considered her as equal, and she became an active pirate commander in the fleet. Also, I believe at her height she commanded like 60,000 pirates, or we had a fleet of 60,000 basically, which is like unheard of in the Western pirate age. Basically 60, like that's a whole ass army. But this is China, so yeah. You may know them as a bunch of heroes that broke box office records with their movies, but the Avengers was also a group of Jewish assassins who hunted Nazi war criminals after World War II. Interesting. They poisoned over 2,000 German POWs, assassinations. From 1912 to 1948, the Olympic Games held competitions in the fine arts. Yeah, I know that. Medals were given for literature, architecture, sculpture, painting, and music. Obviously, the art created was required to be Olympic themed, which, it's like Olympic Games are like more sports oriented. These days, I don't watch the Olympics, but they have now like a crap ton of different sports. Like they have a lot. So, but it's still like, more athleticism oriented, even though they're introducing more and more. It's still, it's not art related. Are there like, I guess there are no competitions which like, obviously there are like arts competitions, but not the ones that like have, architecture, painting all in one anymore. Yeah. Famous conqueror Napoleon Bonaparte, Napoleone Bonaparte, was once attacked by a horde of bunnies. I think I heard that. He had requested that a rabbit hunt be arranged for himself and his men. When the rabbits were released from their cages, the bunnies charged toward Bonaparte and his men in an unstoppable onslaught. Is that true? No. I mean, things tend to be exaggerated, but like, maybe. Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. Yes, she was basically a Greek descendant of like really inbred. Yeah. Ptolemaic Egypt. Ptolemaic was, no. As far as historians can tell, Egypt's famous femme fatale was actually Greek. She was a descendant of Alexander the Great's Macedonian general, Ptolemy, Egypt, basically, until the Romans conquered it. Ketchup was sold in the 1830s as medicine. I know this as well. In 1834, it was sold as a cure for an upset stomach by an Ohio physician named John Cook. It wasn't popularized as a condiment until the late 19th century. So like another 50 years, basically. Did it actually, because like ketchup, obviously back then it was probably a bit different to some degree, not much, but like to some degree. Was it just the placebo? Because like a lot of patented things came out in the 19th century. So it was probably not helpful in that. Did you know that Abraham Lincoln is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame? Yeah, and I heard that he did wrestling. He was 6'4". President had only one loss among his around 300 contests. He earned a reputation for his New Salem, Illinois, as an elite fighter. He earned a reputation for this in New Salem, Illinois, as an elite fighter. George Washington opened a whiskey distillery after his presidency. After his term, Washington opened a whiskey distillery. By 1799, Washington's distillery was the largest in the country, producing 11,000 gallons of unaged whiskey. Is that like still, it doesn't exist anymore, right? Like it's not like a branded company, right? Because I never heard of it. Interesting. So it must have like, after his death, but it probably still continued, right? No? This is number 12, by the way. During the Salem witch trials, the accused witches weren't actually burned at the stake. The majority were jailed and some were hanged, but none of the 2,000 people accused ever got burned alive. Burnings were more common in Europe, and I think a bit earlier as well. I think so, yeah. Also in the Salem witch trials, there was an old guy that got basically crushed to death by heavy stones. So there was like a was like a wooden board that they put rocks on him, and he was at the bottom, right? And and he like said more weight. So yeah, that was a tough old guy basically. President Zachary Taylor died from a cherry overdose. What? Zachary Taylor passed away after eating way too many cherries and drinking milk at a 4th of July party in 1850. He died on July 9th from gastroenteritis. Gastroenteritis. The acid in cherries along with the milk is believed to have caused this. So a combination of a lot of cherries and milk. Interesting. How much do you have to eat though? And drink? Maybe it was a bit weaker to it as well, his immune system. Andrew Jackson had a pet parrot. I know. I think I heard it. And he taught his parrot Polly to curse like a sailor. Yeah, I definitely heard this. There is even one legend that the parrot had to be taken out of Jackson's funeral for its proclivity for profanity. Yeah, its accustomedness to swear. The Bloody Mary wasn't always called Bloody Mary. First, the popular brunch drink was actually called a bucket of blood. A similar theme. After Bucket of Blood, it transitioned to Red Snapper and finally settled on Bloody Mary. In ancient Olympics, athletes performed naked. I think a lot of people know this. This was to achieve closeness to the gods and also help detox their skin through sweating. In fact, the word gymnastics comes from the ancient Greek words gymnasia, athletic training exercise, and gymnos, naked. Yeah, naked, oily men, big sweaty men. What? In 1386, a pig was executed in France. In the Middle Ages, the pig attacked a child. I know this as well. A pig attacked a child who went to die later from their wounds. The pig was arrested, kept in prison, and then sent to court, where it stood trial for murder, was found guilty, and then executed by hanging. I mean, they also in the 19th century, or wait, was it 20th, 1900 something? They hanged a horse. They hanged an elephant. Was it? Which it was? Yeah, I don't exactly remember. It was like a. I forget the name, but anyway. Yeah. During the Great Depression, people made clothes out of food sacks. Yeah, I know this as well. Food sack, basically. Yeah, and they actually. Well, actually, let me finish this. People used flour bags, potato sacks, and anything made out of burlap. Because of this trend, food distributors started to make their sacks more colorful to help people remain a little bit fashionable. Yeah, that's the part I wanted to mention. That they actually started making the food sacks like with certain designs, more colors. During the Victorian period, it was normal to photograph loved ones after they died. People would dress their newly deceased relatives in their best clothing and then put them in lifelike poses and photograph them. They did this to preserve one last image of their dead loved one. I know it's like they didn't do this, but it's like it was a lot more common when I was younger to photograph like people in caskets that were deceased, but it wasn't like them in poses. It was them in a casket. That was quite common. I don't think it's that common anymore though. The shortest war in history lasted 38 minutes. Yeah, it was between Britain and Zanzibar and is known as the Anglo-Zanzibar War. This war occurred on August 27th, 1896. It was over the accession of the next Sultan in Zanzibar and resulted in a British victory. Yeah, didn't even stand a chance basically. Tug of war used to be an Olympic sport It was part of the Olympic schedule between 1900 and 1920 and occurred at 5 different Summer Olympic Games. The nation to win the most medals in this was Britain with 5 medals, then the USA with 3. I mean, makes sense that it was Britain because it was pretty much at their peak. It was the most powerful country at that time in the world. So it makes sense. The University of Oxford is older than the Aztec Empire. I have heard this because like people believe that Aztec Empire is ancient. For us it is old, but overall it's not that ancient. The University of Oxford first opened its doors to students all the way back in 1096. By comparison, the Aztec Empire is said to have originated with the founding of the city of Tenochtitlan at Lake Texcoco by Mexica, which occurred in the year 1325. That's where the whole the Mexican flag symbol comes from. It said that the people there saw an eagle eating a snake on a cactus. Hardcore, yeah. The most famous female serial killer was a Hungarian countess, Elizabeth Bathory de Esed. She was accused of torturing and killing over 650 young women. Most of them were between the ages of 10 and 14. The thing is, I believe that is actually mostly propaganda. Because she may have done it, but I've heard that it could be could have been over exaggerated, her opponents. Someone could correct me on that, but I think it was a bit more propagandish to some degree. Russia ran out of vodka, celebrating the end of World War II. When the long war ended, street parties engulfed the Soviet Union, lasting for days until all of the nation's vodka reserves ran out a mere 22 hours after the partying started. Yeah, then you start making moonshine and overdose. Goddamn. The first official medals of honor were awarded during the American Civil War. They were awarded to Union soldiers who participated in the Great Locomotive Chase of 1862. And there's also there's a video on YouTube, the first ever recorded Medal of Honor. You can, look that up on YouTube. In 18th century England, pineapples were a status symbol. Those rich enough to own a pineapple would carry them around to signify their personal wealth and high-class status. In that day and age, everything from clothing to houseware was decorated with the tropical fruit. I mean, even in the 20th century, for example, in the Soviet Union, I know that, pineapples were very expensive because they came from far off. So importing them and then, buying them, they weren't cheap. And usually pineapples and other exotic fruit were given at Christmas to others. So people were, giving each other fruits. Because again, it was, it wasn't cheap and it was exotic. In ancient Greece, they believed the redheads became vampires after death. Probably a different type of vampire, because a modern vampire concept, I think it's probably a bit different now. This was partly because red-headed people are very pale-skinned and sensitive to sunlight, unlike the Mediterranean Greeks who had olive skin and dark features. Ferrets, dogs, and monkeys were the most popular pets in the Roman Empire. Instead of cats, ancient Romans used ferrets to hunt mice and rats. They used dogs as guards and monkeys as entertainment. I mean, dogs as guards, yeah. Monkeys entertainment, yeah. Tablecloths were originally designed to be used as one big communal napkin. When they were first invented, guests were meant to wipe off their hands and faces on a tablecloth after a messy dinner party. That would get really messy though. It's like you have a tablecloth, you have to wash it all the time. Yeah, it just takes a lot of time, problematic, not very ergonomic then. Before our alarm clocks and way before smartphone alarms, There were people called knocker-uppers who would literally knock on people's windows to wake them up in time for work. I do know this. Up until the 1970s, knocker-uppers used a long stick, soft hammers, rattles, or even pea shooters to reach their clients' windows. So I guess you would have to literally to go to their office, sign up, like your street, write in your street address, time you want to be woken up, and do that. Honestly, I think I almost would use that service to some degree, because yeah, alarm is fine and all, but when a person comes to wake me up, that's a bit, I don't know, it feels more better. British poet and politician Lord Byron kept a pet bear in his dormitory while studying at Cambridge. Known for being an avid animal lover, when he found out he couldn't bring his dog, he decided to bring a tame bear to live with him on campus instead. He was even known to take it on walks with a leash. So he couldn't, I guess there was a rule against dogs, but no rule against bears. So after that, did they make a rule that you can't bring bears? For over 30 years, Canada and Denmark have been playfully fighting for control of a tiny island near Greenland called Hans Island. Once in a while, when officials from each country visit, they leave a bottle of their country's liquor as a power move. And actually, it was it this year or last year? They actually settled on the debate. And the island... I think like they split it in half, actually. Yeah, they split the island in half. So now officially Canada and Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, border each other. Also, I do have a viewer from Greenland. So shout out to the viewer, because that's crazy. Like getting a viewer from Greenland. And I also have a viewer from the Faroe Islands. Like literally places who have like 55,000 people. It's like crazy to me. As St. Lawrence was roasted on a gridiron. I don't know how you pronounce that. By the prefect of Rome. During the persecution of Christians, legend says he cheerfully declared, "I'm well done on the side, turn me over." Because of this, he derives his patronage of cooks, chefs, and comedians. I mean, yeah. It's like, well, I'm well done on that side, yeah. Of course, it could be, it's more of a legend. Probably that didn't happen. It was myths, most likely. But yeah, patronage of cooks and chefs, comedians. In 1998, 1,200 bones from some 10 human bodies were found in the basement of Ben Franklin's house. Before you think of a murder mystery about the founding father, no, it was revealed that the bodies were used in the study of human anatomy. At least that's the cover-up. The tallest married couple ever recorded was Anna Heining Swan, who was 7'11", and Martin Van Buren Bates, who was 7'9". So she was taller than him. When she gave birth, Swan's baby was 22 pounds. In 1945, a balloon bomb launched by Japan landed in Oregon. It fell upon a woman and 5 children who died when it exploded. These were the only World War II casualties on U.S. soil. I know there was like almost like an Alaska invasion, like some islands were attacked, but no civilians died there, yeah, because nobody lives there. Roman gladiators often became celebrities and even endorsed products. Very true. Children would even play with gladiator action figures made out of clay, and I think also like sticks, or maybe, I don't know, maybe not. Also, their sweat was considered an aphrodisiac, and women would mix it into their skincare products. Yeah, basically, they thought that sweat was, big sweaty men. Johnny Appleseed was a real person. His real name was John Chapman, and his hometown was Leominster, Massachusetts. He also has a street named after him, though the city planners decided it would be more poetic to use his mythical name, Johnny Appleseed Lane. Is that the character who who chops down trees with the axe. Am I mistaken? Cars were not invented in the United States. Obviously, it was Deutschland, Germany, European power. The first car was actually created in the 19th century when European engineers Carl Benz and Emile Levasseur were working on automobile inventions. Benz patented the first automobile in 1886. Benz, Mercedes-Benz. Abraham Lincoln was also a licensed bartender. Wrestling bartender, yeah. He was speedrunning, doing side quests. In 1833, the 16th president opened up a bar called Berry and Lincoln with his friend William F. Berry in New Salem, Illinois. The shop was eventually closed when Berry, a raging alcoholic, consumed most of the shop's supply. Some bro was just drinking it, man. Crazy. Vladimir Pravik was one of the first firefighters to reach Chernobyl nuclear power plant on April 26, 1986. The radiation was so strong that it changed his eye color from brown to blue. Crazy. Like the majority of the first responders to the radioactive disaster, Vladimir died 15 days later from severe radiation poisoning. Because though it changed the eye color. My eye color is, you probably can't see it, but it's gray. It's quite gray. When I was born, I had blue eyes, but it shifted to gray. Roman Catholics in Bavaria founded a secret society in 1740 called the Order of the Pug. New members had to wear dog collars and scratch at the door to get in. This para-Masonic society was reportedly active until 1902. Well, it's active now. It's called furries. King Henry VIII of England had servants who were called grooms of the stool. Yes. Whose job was to wipe his bottom after he went to the bathroom. During his reign, he had all of those 4 such people knighted, and they were actually paid well. I believe it was a high-paying job. But weren't there more kings who had the same thing, like they had their bottom wiped? Was it just Henry VIII? Wasn't there more? Interesting. But yeah, no, I know that they were like paid good. 14 years before the infamous Titanic sank, author Morgan Robertson wrote the novella Futility. Novella is like a shorter story. Futility. It was about the large unsinkable ship Titan hitting an iceberg in the northern Atlantic. What's even weirder is the Titanic and the fictional Titan did not have enough lifeboats for the thousands of passengers on board. Coincidence? I think not. Yeah, obviously, coincidences. Between the 11th and 19th centuries, big time span, a number of Buddhist monks successfully mummified themselves. They adopted a practice called Sokushinbutsu. Yeah, Sokushinbutsu in Japanese. Sokushinbutsu. In which they gradually weaned themselves off food and water and essentially starved themselves to death over the course of 1,000 days. So like over 3 years. It was believed that by successfully mummifying themselves, the monks would achieve true enlightenment. Yabai, 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 yabai. The ancient Romans often used stale urine as mouthwash. Yes. The main ingredient in urine is ammonia, which acts as a powerful cleaning agent, which is true. Urine became so in demand that Romans who traded in it actually had to pay a tax. Yeah, they were actually urine collectors as well. That was like a job. Collect urine and also like tax. They started to tax urine collectors of the public toilets in ancient Rome. While in power, Pope Gregory IX declared that cats were to be associated with devil worship and had them exterminated. Some believe that the disappearance of those cats helped rats spread the bubonic plague, aka the Black Death, that killed millions of people in the 1300s. Yeah. Again, crazy stuff. Grigory Yefimovich Rasputin, a Russian mystic and friend to Tsar Nicholas II, reportedly survived being poisoned, shot, and stabbed numerous times before he was finally drowned in the Volga River. That's a myth. That's not true. He most definitely died quite early at the beginning of his assassination, because I'm not exactly sure he was poisoned. I think he just got shot and that's it, and fell and died. I think that was it. He just got shot, maybe. But I know basically that story is just, it's fake. From the 1940s to the 1970s, Yale, plus other Ivy League schools like Harvard, Vassar, and Brown, required their freshmen to pose nude for a photo shoot. I have heard this. The goal was to gather material for a massive study into how rickets developed, and that involved sticking pins to the backs of the subjects. Male and female, generations of the country's elite who entered the Ivy League posed, and the archives included the naked photos of well-known figures ranging from George W. Bush, Hillary Clinton, and Meryl Streep. The photos were destroyed after news leaked and the study was denounced. There's a lot of crazy studies that was done in the US. I think the crazy one was not that even comparatively not too long ago about twins separated, and if they wanted to find out, it's kind of like this. It kind of reminds me of an anime called Monster, but basically they wanted to find out if if it's how you are is predetermined by birth or your surroundings, which is both, I believe, in my opinion. But you can try and look it up. It's pretty crazy stuff. And this is gonna be the final one, which is number 50. The Luftwaffe had a master interrogator, Hans Scharf, whose tactic was being as nice as possible. Hans's best tactics for getting information out of prisoners included nature walks without guards present, baking them homemade food, cracking jokes, drinking beers, and afternoon tea with German fighter aces. His techniques were so successful that the US military later incorporated his methods into their own interrogation schools. So maybe that's where the whole thing, actually, could that be where the whole good cop, bad cop thing came into play? From the Germans. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So anyway, guys, maybe you've already fallen asleep to this video, because this one was probably one of my most chill videos. It might be my most chill video. I hope you were able to relax, enjoy some history. I know that history channels these days tend to get very demonetized, so I hope YouTube doesn't come at me. So but I hope not. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Hope you liked this video. Yeah, please if you want more history content, you can always write me up. I take recommendations. I have a lot of recommendations right now, but eventually in time I'm asking for people, because I do this as a hobby. I just ask for patience. Eventually I will do your videos, but for now I will bid you adieu. Bye.